Did you know there's such thing as a floating backpack, or cutlery that you can eat, or a laser that's strong enough to burn through an entire forest? Today we're trying something different. I'm going to show you my top 20 of the most unbelievably cool pieces of tech from around the world, starting impressive, going all the way up to mind-blowing. So first up is a pair of headphones that you can wear on your face, giving you access to not just immersive noise-cancelling sound, but also the equivalent of a 65-inch display wherever you go. I do wonder though, if you're wearing these in public, are you just inviting other people to steal your possessions? I'll give this a 5 out of 10. Pretty cool. What do you think is happening over here? Definitely some sort of weird shape-shifting form, right? No. These are novotropes, and they're actually completely static objects, but using a little bit of carefully planned rotation and strobe lighting can simulate movement. It's really messing with me, but I also can't stop looking at it. Feels like a 5.5 out of 10. But now we've got something that claims to be the next generation of gaming. We've already had controllers that let you feel physical tension. We've had headphones that let you locate enemies through their footsteps. We've got entirely new worlds through virtual reality. But have you ever wished that you could feel the actual heat from an in-game explosion? No, I don't think I have. But that's exactly what Vortex does. They call it an environmental simulator because it can recreate the effects of wind, fire, and ice by basically blowing air at you, but linking the temperature of that air to what's happening in your game. It's kind of genius, but I also imagine a lot of people quite like the idea of feeling like they're indoors while playing. 5.5 out of 10. Random fun fact, there is a certain class of fluids that basically behave like a liquid if you touch them, but they will behave like a solid if you try and whack them. They're called non-Newtonian fluids because they don't obey Newton's laws. Why am I telling you this? Well, for those of you who drive, you've probably experienced the anarchy that are speed bumps. They're put in place to force people to slow down, but the problem is that even when you're driving at an appropriate speed, they're not exactly good for your car. But the solution that's started rolling out now is instead of having a speed bump made of stone, to actually have one made of a non-Newtonian fluid. Because it means that if you're just driving at a normal speed, it'll behave like a liquid, and you might not even know a speed ramp is there. But if you are disobeying the rules, you will hit it. The world's speeding problems, solved in one go. I think that deserves a 6 out of 10. Have a look at this, the Hoverglide Backpack. The idea is pretty simple. It's that when you normally run with a bag on your back, it's the up and down motion of the bag, which is most of what's making it feel strenuous. So the objective of the Hoverglide is to basically separate the bag from your back, with a frame that can basically glide up and down freely. And using some carefully placed elastic, that bag can be held still even as your body moves up and down. And apparently this alone can reduce the perceived weight of whatever's in your bag by 86%. That's a 6 out of 10 concept in my books, but doesn't it look a bit like a video game that someone's just not finished coding? Cyberpunk. But you can actually go one step further with Cow Robot, luggage that follows you. You get a bracelet when you buy one, and the suitcase is programmed to just stay within a certain distance of that bracelet. And it's got all sorts of sensors to make sure that it doesn't fall downstairs and can completely avoid obstacles. They even say that if you ever lose sight of it, 2 taps on the bracelet and it'll come flying back to you. What if it runs out of battery though? 6 out of 10. Let's face it, we're moving towards a world where everything is going to be done for us. And thanks to Tennibot, we're not even going to have to pick up our tennis balls anymore. They're calling it the world's first autonomous tennis assistant, which basically means it uses machine learning to understand how you play, and then go specifically to those locations where you end up hitting the balls, pick them up, and bring them back to you. It's only a matter of time before someone sticks a racket on this and it ends up winning Wimbledon. So 6 out of 10 for now. Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, one problem that people in developing countries are facing right now is an inability to wash their clothes. A lot of people don't have access to electricity, and just the clean water itself can be a scarce resource. So I just thought this idea of a spin cycle was a really interesting one. It's a washing machine, but the only thing you need to power it is a bicycle. It uses the rotation on the back wheel to effectively spin a drum, and it can wash and dry your clothes in 15 minutes flat with like 2 bottles of water. It's one thing, but it has so many positive knock-on consequences. So big fan, 7 out of 10. Oh God, who built this thing? Do you know what's really handy? Plastic cutlery. It's also terrible for the environment. But to combat this, a company has arrived called Bakeys, whose making edible spoons. They're just made of a combination of grains, so they don't need extra preservatives, and they have like a 3-year shelf life. So after you've finished eating your meal, you can either just eat the spoon, or you can throw the spoon. Because it's grains, it's also completely biodegradable. Could you imagine like running late to work one day and just munching on some spoons on the way in? Easy 7 out of 10. Why did I put that in my mouth? I joke, but I think this whole concept of making everything edible is actually starting to gather a bit of steam. There's another company called Saltwater Brewery who've used a very similar ingredients list to make packaging. Think about it, if our rubbish is going to end up in the ocean anyways, then how amazing would it be if instead of actually harming the animals, we'd be feeding them? 7 out of 10. And the other thing that I think kind of goes hand in hand with this is the sea bin, which, as the name suggests, is a dustbin for the sea. It uses a pump to basically pull in surface level debris, think bottles, bags, leaves, and it pulls them through multiple purification layers before allowing the clean water to then come out from the bottom. And all the plastics and the oils, they stay trapped in the bin. The website says that every single sea bin can capture 90,000 plastic bags per year, which is it's kind of an incredible stat, but I'm still giving this one a 7 out of 10 just because in its current state, it does still require electricity to work that pump. But I think the top tier, coolest part of this anti-plastic movement is edible water bottles. And I know what you're thinking, it's not quite that. It's these. They almost look like little water balloons, but instead of the outside being made of latex, there's actually 2 layers of seaweed and plant extract. So you peel the outer layer, that's basically just there to keep it clean, and you eat your water. And I think this just has huge implications, because any clear plastic that you see used in packaging could technically be made of this. I think that's worthy of an 8 out of 10. Alright, I'm gonna stop talking about plastics, I promise. I'm about to show you a notebook, and as you can probably imagine, for it to feature this highly on the list, it's a pretty special notebook. It's called Nuka, and they're labeling it as the next generation of paper. So you know how a normal notebook works, right? Via ink. But this one actually uses a special metal alloy pencil that has a chemical reaction with the pages you're writing on. That's how the text actually comes out. And I realize that sounds excessive and kind of pretentious, but this means that your pencil never runs out. It means that the pages can be made from a material that doesn't tear, and it also means that you can write in the rain, you can write at the bottom of a swimming pool, you can write in outer space. If you're one of the 4 people going. And you can use their own magic wipes to erase and rewrite as many times as you want, apparently. But yeah, I think it's time for you to go. Last gen notebook. 8 out of 10. We're pretty used to the idea of smart watches, right? Check your wrist, you can see what's happening in your life. But I'm pretty sure that the world we're moving towards is going to require even less effort than that, and smart glasses are the first step towards that. So these are the Focals by North, and they basically use a laser inside of them to project a mini display in front of your eyes with that exact same information. They've got microphones, so you can actually talk directly to your smart devices through them, and if you wanted more precise control, there is a ring that you can wear that basically acts like a joystick through its menus. I don't think the execution is quite there yet, but the concept of this is like 8 out of 10, no questions asked. You know, a gadget that I've always had a real hard time with are lighters. It doesn't seem to matter whether it's fireworks or whether it's a barbecue. This whole idea of needing to create a flame means that A, I've sometimes sat there repeatedly striking this wheel trying to make a spark, B, there's a whole load of fuel that you have to keep replacing, and C, failing that, you've got to replace the lighter itself. But you can now get something called an arc lighter, which instead of using fire and fuel, creates 2 small arcs of super high voltage current, and the point at which they meet in the middle is one small area of extreme high temperature. And the benefit of something like this is that the only maintenance you ever need to do is charge it. And if you are enjoying this video, then a sub to the channel would be hot. 8 out of 10. Okay, have you ever built something in real life and thought, man, I wish I could save that like I can on my PC? Well, that's kind of the idea behind the Formbox. It can basically take whatever you make or find, and using the power of your vacuum cleaner, create a mold of it, so that you can make as many more of it as you want, using pretty much whatever material you want. Like I could go to the beach, find a shell I really liked, and use the shape of it to make chocolates. And I'm hungry again. Where's that spoon? 8 out of 10. When I say the word drone to you, you probably think of DJI, right? They pretty much make every single consumer-grade drone. Or at least every successful one. But there is a new category of drones that is just getting started. This is Skydio 2. It's built by former Apple and Tesla engineers, and it is an autonomous drone. It completely understands its environment, it can avoid obstacles so well that they even say you can fly it indoors, and it can actually use your current trajectory of movement to predict where you're going to be and get there before you. And do you want to know the coolest part? Even if this drone loses sight of you, say it goes above the trees and you're below it, it will carry on tracking you using your GPS coordinates until it can then spot you again and carry on. Is this a 9 out of 10? I think so. On the subject of drones though, I saw this thing last week in Shanghai. There was a game company who basically flew a fleet of 1,500 drones in the sky at the same time to create a real-life moving billboard. And it all culminated in an actually scannable QR code to download that game. Completely unrelated, but that's next level. Now also in the category of stuff I didn't realize I wanted, I feel like we're reaching god tier status here, this is the Biski, which I'm assuming is an amalgamation of bike and jet ski. You can literally be minding your own business, cruising along a road at 80 miles an hour, and then if you decide you like the look of a nearby pond, steer off into it. And even on the water, it can still drive at 37 miles per hour, which is almost as fast as the police boats in a lot of regions. So this is perfect for criminals? 9 out of 10, I still want one. Lasers, they're pretty cool, right? You've probably seen a lot of them for PowerPoint presentations and winding up cats on YouTube. But those are baby lasers, usually limited to about 1 milliwatt of power. Have you ever wondered what would happen if you took that power dial and cranked it up a little further? Well, like with most things really, someone on YouTube has done it for you. Everything Apple Pro used a 3,500 milliwatt laser to immediately destroy an iPhone screen. And there's a guy called Styro Pyro who's built a 200,000 milliwatt laser that can instantly pop balloons, it can go straight through boxes, and it can set wood on fire. Remember, all this is just extremely concentrated light. It's kinda nuts. Here's something about me. I love the sun. You know that feeling of like opening your blinds in the morning and just being blasted by light? So this is kind of like a dream for me. There is a company called Koilux who's created real, fake sky panels. They have their own sun that follows the natural pattern of sunrise and sunset. You just never have to worry about a cloud again. It does start at $40,000 admittedly, but to own the sun? 9.5 out of 10. I came this close to actually ordering a panel for my room here, but then I realized I'd have to sell the room to buy it. So yeah, like I said, this is a completely new series, trying something different, so if you liked it, then please do let me know, and if you didn't, then I'd really appreciate it if you could let me know how I can make it better. To see my last video all about 15 ridiculous smartphone gadgets, click here, and to see the video before that, I'm going to leave a link here. Thank you so much for watching, my name is Aaron, this is Mr. Who's the Boss. I'll catch you in the next one.